Before we start the video, a large thank you to Eclipse, N Studio, Ruben, Arhen, and Joshua for their support on Patreon. I hope you guys enjoy the video. And a massive thank you to Halo Burner, Ryan Belland, and Eric for their immense support to the channel this month on Patreon. It is sincerely and greatly appreciated, gentlemen, and I hope you enjoy the video. Hello, let's open the Player Locomotion Manager and continue with our ladder system. So I'm going to look for handle sprinting, and what I'm going to do is before we do anything, we're going to check to see if we are on a ladder. And if we're on a ladder, instead of sprinting, we want to enable the player to slide down the ladder. So check for is climbing ladder.value, and then we're going to first check to make sure we're not exiting the ladder. If we are, simply return. We don't want to allow slide while we're in the process of an exit animation. Otherwise, we're going to say player.player network manager is sliding down ladder.value is equal to true. Now, we need to make an on is sliding down ladder changed function. So let's hop over to our character network manager, and a good place to put this is right below our on is climbing ladder changed. So I'm going to make a public void on is sliding down ladder. What we want to do is pass the animator value for is sliding down the ladder to whatever our is sliding down ladder is on the network manager. And then we want to play an animation. Now, note, we don't have the functionality to play an animation locally. So if you're a client and I change my is sliding down ladder status, I'm going to change this flag and then I'm going to send an RPC. But alternatively too, you can just check for is sliding down ladder and you can play the animation locally by creating a function to do so. So what I'm trying to say is, what I'm going to write here is, if we are sliding down the ladder and I'm the owner, I'm going to send a server RPC to play an animation, which then goes to you. But if you want to skip that entirely and not check for owner status, you can make a function locally on the character animator manager that just plays the target animation without having to require me sending you an RPC to tell my player to do so. So the animation is slide down ladder start 01. Make sure we are performing an action. We are using root motion, but we want to disable can rotate and we want to enable can move. So that's going to be true, true, false, true if you've set it up like me. So we're going to say can rotate false and can move is equal to true. That is pretty much it. So I'm going to save that. Now make sure you have is sliding ladder in your animator parameters. And then I'm going to go over to the player manager, and on network spawn, I'm going to come down all the way to the bottom under flags, and right under is climbing ladder changed, I'm going to make one for is sliding down ladder changed. And obviously we're going to call the on is sliding down ladder changed, and then copy this and on network despawn. We've done this so many times now, just make sure you unsubscribe from it, just like that. Going to save that again. And now I'm going to go back in the project, go to the player input manager. Now, why am I doing this? Well, if we go down to handle sprint, so I have an underscore, I don't. I think I use an underscore Nephilim. Yeah, so right here, make sure we're going to disable is sliding down ladder when the sprint input is not being held because they share the same input. So set it to false. And then we're going to go to the ladder and prefab, make sure it's set to interactable so the camera is not bouncing off it and colliding. Now, if I try to climb and slide down, that looks a little silly because we're playing the exit animation. So, I mean, this is fine really, but what you can do alternatively is just play the jump off animation or play no animation. I think no animation probably looks the best, but just in case, I'll show you how to do the jump off animation because we got to set it up anyway for jumping off the ladder. So come on to your regular action override, not your ladder override, and drag in, if you're using my animations that I've supplied, ladder jump start. If not, just have any old animation where you jump off of something, or an animation is if you're backing off the ladder. So I got jump start, jump fall, and jump end. So we're going to make a transition from start to fall. No exit time, 1-0. Again, you don't need these animations. Use whatever animations you want. Just have something that jumps off. And then from the loop, we're falling to the end. I'm going to make the transition duration 0.05 seconds, and we're going to make sure that we're grounded and there is no exit time. And then I'll make this go back to empty after we're grounded. So while I'm here too, I'll put in the fall loop for when we get knocked off the ladder by a character hitting us, and I got the fall end. And I'm thinking about it, I don't think I have a fall get up in the folder that I supplied in the last video. So I'm going to put the new animation for getting up in the description of this video. If I forget to do it, please someone comment below, because I always basically package the scripts afterwards and it might slip my mind, but I should put it there. So if you want this from Nephilite, it's core main face up, get up. So basically it's getting up from the face up position. This doesn't line up perfectly, I don't think, but it's very close. So check this out. We'll check just to make sure. So if I drag this across here, you can see there's the smallest bit of a difference. So watch this. I'll put it to 1 and 0. So you can see it's going to see that nudge. So what we can do is blend that just a little bit, and you can't even notice. That's perfect. All right, cool. So then let's make sure we translate that back to empty, but we only want to translate to the get up animation if we're not dead. So let's check that too. So make a transition back here and only go to get up. And we're going to make a condition is dead is equal to false. Otherwise, just stay there. So it's like you died when you hit the ground. Okay, cool. Now let's go back to the ladder interactable, and right over here where we're sliding down, we're playing ladder empty. I'm going to open up some curly brackets here. Then I am going to say player.player animator manager dot play target action animation, and then we're going to say ladder jump start 01, and we'll say true. And I'm going to play ladder empty right above that because these are on different layers, remember. So the ladder empty takes us out of the layer, and then we're going to return, takes us out of the ladder, and then the ladder jump start puts us back on the action layer. So now if I go up here and climb this and jump, slide down rather, there we go. It looks a lot better. Now if you want, you could play that faster or blend it harsher so you're not having a little bump as you land, entirely up to you, but that serves as a good standing point right now. So under attempt to perform dodge, let's do jumping off the ladder next since we have the animation set up. We're just going to put simply right here if player, don't know why it inserted a double bracket there, if player is climbing the ladder, dot value, then instead of attempting to perform a dodge, we're going to return and we're going to attempt to jump off the ladder. So we can just write inside here. First we want to say if player.player locomotion manager cannot move, we're going to return I'm on the locomotion manager. Don't know why I typed it like that. So if we're not able to move, simply return. And this is so if we're exiting ladder also, we can't just jump off mid-exit animation. And then we're going to say if just in case is exiting ladder, the return. So if you can't move and you are exiting the ladder, or either of those things, return. Otherwise, we're going to say jump off ladder. We don't have this written yet, so let's make this real quick right under apply jumping velocity. Private void jump off ladder. And this one's going to be pretty straightforward. Okay, so let's open up some curly brackets. I'm just going to say player.player network manager is climbing ladder is equal to false, and then we play the jumping animation. Now, alternatively, you can call this is climbing ladder false on an animation event, so it waits for a small moment to do so, and then you won't drop instantly. And also optionally, you can add a small amount of velocity up where we're exiting the ladder and make sure your velocity doesn't reset to its normal, ground velocity or falling velocity instantly. And what this does is it'll make you kind of pop up first to simulate a jump. And let me just show you actually. So this is right now with, the regular, so that looks fine. This is jumping off the ladder as we have it. If I go into my game here, watch. See there's a small, I'll show you one more time. There's a tiny little pop before I jump off. Almost like I go up a little bit. And that's just optional. This just a small amount of polish. I don't go too deeply into these things because honestly I could spend like 40 minutes talking about small little modifications or alterations. Obviously do what you want, just I'd throw it in there in case someone was interested. So let's go to the take damage effect now, and let's go under play directional based animation, and I'm going to make a protected void play knock from ladder animation. I'm actually just going to call this play knock from ladder, or just knock character off ladder. So again, there's a couple ways to do this, and I will show you the way I prefer. Actually, there's like 3 ways to do this depending on how you want to do it. So let's make this require a character manager variable, and I'm going to say character effects manager. Whoops, we're going to say actually character animator manager. There we go. And then we're going to say play target action animation. And what we want to do obviously is play the animation where we get knocked off the ladder, and we can play it instantly too if you'd like. So there's no blending, it just abruptly happens. And then we're going to play the ladder underscore fall underscore start underscore 01. And then we're going to pass this to true. Now you could also set the is climbing ladder status here to false. And then we could just basically instantly fall. And we're also going to say is exiting ladder is equal to false. Or we could set it from an animation event, so that way we get some of the animation where the character actually falls off the ladder playing before we instantly begin descending. And I think that is better, but if you don't want to use the animation event, what you want to do is say, first we're going to say if is not owner return. We're going to say is climbing ladder is equal to false, and then we play that animation. So I'm going to go to play directional based damage animation. I'll come back to this in a moment. Don't worry, we'll set up an animation event. And we're just going to say right up top here, if we are climbing a ladder, we have 3 options. So option 1 is Elden's method. If you're hit twice within X time, you fall off the ladder. Option 2 is always fall when hit. That one's pretty simple. All you got to do is call knock character off ladder and then simply return. And I'll comment that out because we're not going to use option 2. And option 3 is still pretty simple. Only fall when your poise broken. So we're going to say if poise is broken, then we play knock off ladder and then we return. But we're going to do Elden's method because this is Elden Ring and Unity as a tutorial series. I personally think 3 is the coolest, but we'll do number 1. So if you're hit twice, the next time you're going to fall off the ladder. Let's go to Character Locomotion Manager. I'm going to make a public bool can be knocked off ladder. Defaultly set to false. I'm going to go to reset our action flag and I'm going to make this set to false. So every time we play an action animation, this has gone back to being false. Obviously, if you get knocked off the ladder, that is an action. When you're done getting knocked off the ladder, it resets. Now come over to Character Locomotion Manager, make a public void, enable can be knocked off ladder for a time. And then we're going to pass the time. You can use a magic number here, or you can make a variable for it, up to you entirely. Obviously you should never use magic numbers, but sometimes people do. Let's make a private coroutine for knock off, what am I going to call this actually? Enable can be knocked off ladder for a time. We'll just call it enable can be knocked off ladder coroutine. That's still a mouthful. So let's make an actual coroutine for this right below the function, private IE numerator, and we're going to call this can be knocked, no, I don't like that, hang on. Let's call it can be knocked off ladder coroutine. I guess that's simple enough. And then let's make it require a time. And then I'm going to just check for the coroutine and make sure it's not already running. So if enable can be knocked off ladder coroutine does not equal null, stop coroutine, enable can be knocked off ladder coroutine. And then we're going to say enable can be knocked off ladder coroutine equals start coroutine. And then we pass this coroutine with a time. I'm just going to say 10 for now, but I'll make a variable for it in a moment. So let's just pass the time. We're going to say can be knocked off ladder is equal to true. So what we're going to do is yield return new wait for seconds, the time, we pass the time, and then say can be knocked off ladder is equal to false. So basically when you get punched or hit, you're going to say can be knocked off ladder, it turns to true. If you don't get hit again in 10 seconds, it goes back to false. So let's call this, go back to the take damage. So number 1, what we're going to do is we're going to check first if we can be knocked off the ladder. So if character.character locomotion manager can be knocked off ladder, well, then we're going to knock the character off the ladder. Otherwise, we're going to start this coroutine. So we can do that by saying character.character locomotion manager enable can be knocked off ladder for a time. And I could just throw in 10 here if I wanted to, but this is a tutorial series and I should not be doing that, so I'm going to make that into a variable in just a second. Otherwise, knock the character off the ladder and return. Okay, let's go make a variable for this really fast. I don't really know what to call this. That's not going to be super wordy. I'm going to make a new header first for a ladder, organize this a little bit. I honestly need to spend some time on or off video just giving all these things proper headers. It's starting to become a little bit of a mess here since we've integrated the ladders. So public float knock off ladder window. I think that's a pretty good time. Or name, sorry. We'll say 10 seconds, and I'll put the coroutine under this header too. So now I'm going to call that instead of just saying 10 here, because again, magic number is bad. Shouldn't do it. Let's say knock off ladder window. All right, that looks good. And now I am going to save that and go to my player effects manager. I've quickly made an apply damage tick here. And if it says if apply damage tick, I'm just passing a damage effect for 1 damage. And now let's turn this to an animation event instead. So what I'm going to do here is say play target action animation. And we're going to say ladder fall idle 01. And then I'm going to go over here and right here is where I have the animation event, like so, fall from ladder, see that? Let's make that function, and let's copy the ladder fall idle here. Let's paste that up top. I'm going to grab the idle and the climbing ladder and delete them from here. And then I'm going to put those on that animation event. So let's go and make this fall off ladder. So on the character locomotion manager, I'm going to make a public void fall off, or sorry, fall from ladder. And then I'm going to paste in here is climbing ladder is false, then play the target action animation event instantly, ladder fall idle. I'm going to say if you're not the owner, obviously return, unless you want to do this locally, and then you can make the character play that animation locally by setting up a function for it, up to you. And then I am going to save. Okay, so now under is climbing ladder, we have this optional hide and unhide our weapons. Come to the character equipment manager and let's make a virtual void for basically unhiding your weapons, because we already have it on our player equipment manager. If you have other characters climbing a ladder, you want to set this up here. So under player equipment manager, let's make this into a override void, and it stays the same, nothing changes. And then we're going to, now you don't delete this from here, and I'll show you why. If you don't delete the hide weapons from here, I'll just delete it and show you why we don't though. So you're going to keep that under the ladder interactable. But now let's make a hide weapons function on the character equipment manager, like so, make it virtual void, and then override it on the player equipment manager and just call your hide weapons server RPC. Again, I've temporarily deleted this from the ladder interactable, but I'm going to show you why we shouldn't. We're actually going to call it in both places, and it does make sense. So let's go over here now under is climbing ladder changed, and what we're going to do is say character if you're climbing the ladder, character equipment manager, you want to hide those weapons. If not, you want to unhide those weapons. We actually don't even have the character equipment manager being called because it doesn't exist on the character manager. So let's go ahead and make a variable for it, and then let's call it on awake. So hide an inspector, public character equipment manager. I'm going to call it character equipment manager. I'm going to put it just below the character locomotion manager there, and I'm going to call this on awake by saying character equipment manager is equal to get component character equipment manager, and I'm going to save that. Now let's go over to the on is climbing ladder changed and say character.character equipment manager dot hide weapons, and then we're going to say on hide weapons. So why am I deleting it, or why shouldn't I delete it from the climb ladder interactable? Well, watch. See that? See how it took a second? Now, but then you might say to yourself, okay, but why would I keep it then on the server RPC? Well, if you join a game while I'm climbing the ladder, then I have to hide my weapon still because you weren't there when I initially called it. So we have to call it here under wait and climb ladder, and also keep it here, because if not, then basically it won't be active when you join the game when I'm already climbing a ladder. Now over on load other player character data on the player manager, let's just do a player network manager on is climbing ladder changed, so that if you join the game while I'm on the ladder, you will see it correctly. And I'm going to say false, and I'm going to say player network manager is climbing ladder dot value. Okay, let's save that, and let's go climb the ladder, and there we go. Looks pretty good. And if I slide down, nice. And now if I climb onto it again, climb up here a little bit, and then if I jump off, that looks good. All right, I'm content with that. Now let's polish it a bit, and let's go to the ladder interactable. So this is a weird edge case. You might not have it, but in some circumstances, your vertical can be set to something less than 1. So I'm just going to force an update and movement parameters and set the vertical to 1 and set sprint to false. This locks your vertical to 1 forward because you're disabling movement basically when you're climbing up the ladder. Not required, but just in case, it can be a weird edge case. And now we have this little weird thing where we're climbing the ladder and we're kind of like flying away. This is pretty simple. Go to the climb down and up ladder exit animations and set the exit time to a higher number, and the transition duration is something a bit lower. So I'm going to say 0.9 and 0.1. And then when I come off of the ladder, you can see there's a pause now before I can move. Perfect, cool. Now there's another problem though. If we were to smooth double check that, yeah, okay, looks nice. If we were to climb up the ladder and I hold my camera, you see I'm tilting to the left or the right there a little bit? That's not a problem with me. And also we're exiting a bit too low, but you can move these variables up and down to do that. But if I turn to the side here, and you see that how I'm able to actually move off to the side? Why is that? Well, I forgot to basically stop my free fall movement. So we're going to see here under free fall movement, if I'm climbing a ladder, return, and just in case under jumping movement do the same. It should never be a case, but we're going to put it there just in case. And now if I save that and go back to the project here, and no matter where I look now, I should stay perfectly straight and climb the ladder, and yes, I do. Cool, nice. And now if I hop back on the ladder, nice. That looks pretty good, honestly. I can still polish the positions a little bit, but all things considered, that's pretty great. Now, if I were to go up here and just climb it again, just going to make sure I exit the ladder fine. I can honestly bump up that exit position just a smidge, but like I said, I could do that for a long time off video, so I'm not too concerned about it. All right, jumping off works fine. Now, let's make sure we get hit, and yeah, there we go. All right, that looks very good. I am absolutely content with that. I could definitely spend some time off video polishing the exact positions of entering and exiting. Like I said, if you want to be really precise about it, you could go into the animation software, look at the exact distance, and then set it up in your project based on that. Okay guys, I've gotten a few more requests, so I'm going to keep going with them. Some of the requests I do storage and selling and buying stuff at a shop. I do have a new series ready to start, but I'm going to keep going with these as long as I get the suggestions. It is very likely I'm going to update this in F-Lite and make it a bit more streamlined, so if you guys would like to ever see the updated version, just let me know, but I'm going to move on for sure. Gentlemen, as always, thank you very much for being here, and as always, I hope you have a very lovely weekend. I am immensely grateful to the people on Patreon who choose to support my work. It is because of all of you this series can exist at all, so you have my sincerest gratitude. Shout out to the people still liking and commenting on the video and sharing it via word of mouth. You are also very much so appreciated. I will see you guys next week.